Tamara Thomas, editor-in-chief of UrbanHealthToday.com, part of the DocWire family of medical news sites, and I want to thank you for tuning in to Urban Health Weekly. Our goal each week is to keep you informed of the latest in health and medical news right from today's headlines. It's time to empower yourself with open conversations about your medical care with news that matters to you. So are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, I'm Tamara Thomas, and welcome to Urban Health Weekly, where we talk about medical news and health topics that matter to you. I'm here with Jackie and Lou. How are you guys?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
I'm all right. Let's get into it. First of all, I want to apologize to Lou because he was absolutely right. Steve Jobs did in fact have a liver transplant in 2009 before pancreatic tumor got him in 2011. So I am apologizing to you formally. I was wrong. You were correct.
All right.
Does that feel
liver.
Well, listen, I'm a woman of principle. I stand
That's
by
right.
When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And when I'm right, I like to be right.
You didn't just flat out say, when I'm right, I'm right. You qualified that statement.
I guess I qualified that exactly. Yeah, you have to add the qualifier. That's right. By the way, I'm reading this book, Premonition by Michael Lewis.
Yes.
It's a really riveting account of the scientists and doctors who tried to head off the COVID pandemic at the pass with common sense epidemiology, but they were blocked every which way by pure bureaucracy. Ooh. I have an all new lack of respect for the CDC after reading this. Let me tell you. I already thought
all new lack of respect.
Sorry?
An all new lack of respect?
My lack of respect for them has hit an all new low. I had already for them at the beginning of the pandemic where they were all over the place and couldn't figure out what they wanted to do.
Yes.
And now that I have official documentation that they screwed the pooch, I have my lack of respect is even more disrespect for them. Wow. But props to Carter Mesher and Charity Dean, man. They were the heroes. I haven't finished the book yet, but it's really riveting. If you ever get the chance to.
All right.
I'm not paid to say this.
What was the name of the book?
Premonition by Michael Lewis. He's the one that wrote what's that book with the Moneyball,
Blindside,
Liar's Poker. Oh, and the one about Wall Street. What was that one called? That was one of my favorite. The Big Short. Yeah.
Not that I read him, but
not that you know, of course, not at all.
Not that I know.
I love Michael Lewis's perspective. So Michael Lewis and Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, yeah.
I can read them forever and ever and ever. I love their perspective on all things. They just approach a story so outside of the box that you're constantly yes, that. It's just a pleasure reading them. One other thing. So you know how I'm always saying that the food scientists are doing stuff to our food, and it sounds like all conspiracy theory.
They're zhuzhing the food to make it
absolutely
palatable. Yes.
Well, so I was talking to somebody this week, and he actually was able to verify exactly what I said. He said that what happens is, because he has clients who are big food companies, and he said that what happens is they have the chef that makes the food in the test kitchen,
right?
And then they ship the food to the lab.
After the fact.
So the actual real food that the chef makes, they ship it to the lab. The lab food scientists then take it apart and figure out how they can remake this food to look and taste like this without actually making it like this. So I just want everyone to know that I'm not crazy.
A cheaper way?
Oh, absolutely. What chemicals can they use to replicate this taste, replicate the mouthfeel, to replicate the smell, so that so that it tricks your mouth?
The natural flavorings, which aren't natural. So and then
by the time they're done with it, what the chef has sent them is completely not what we get on the market.
So is there also MSG things or excitotoxins, whatever, whatever they make that makes it extra addictive?
I mean, there's always that.
Okay.
I think a lot of why some of the stuff is addictive is because of just their very nature. Not that they set out
Okay.
to
Because
say,
they're
we're gonna.
extra tasty.
Well,
They're
because of the way these chemicals react in the body, they just kind of by nature addict you.
okay.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
All right. Yes.
Yeah, they don't set out like, oh yeah, we got to make this really addictive. It just kind of becomes addictive the way the chemicals interact with your microbiome and your brain and so forth.
Wow. So fresh and hot out the kitchen, right to the lab.
Not
And
so
then
much. Not so
Oh,
much to us though. I just wanted
oh
to
my
put that
God.
out there that I'm not crazy.
That
So,
is wow.
so that's food for thought. So think about that next time you go out and eat something and you think that it's wholesome, or they put all natural on it. Is it all natural? All right. So let's jump in. Stat News reporter Larry Ty, he had a terrific article. Actually, it was kind of a poignant article where he felt that he had to make a devil's choice, whether to take immune suppressing drug Humira or further succumb and risk getting COVID, or further succumb to wrist joint damage from rheumatoid arthritis.
Awful.
Yes. Here's an excerpt from his piece. A devil's bargain indeed, but it's not mine alone. Millions of others with chronic conditions face comparably high stakes gambles in this time of the coronavirus. Humira has been around for 20 years, is on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines, and is the best-selling drug in the world for a reason. Studies suggest that it can not only reduce inflammation and pain, but can also check further joint damage. And it's supposed to work fast. That's encouraging to me and to my rheumatologist, who thinks Humira is a great first step for me. He and my primary care doctor say the clock is ticking on the damage to my wrist tissue, and I have to battle that now. Those are the pros. But as a lifelong journalist, I'm instinctively and obsessively skeptical. So I started a second tally of Humira's cons. The Food and Drug Administration requires AbbVie, the manufacturer, to list warnings about the drug. My doctors and I will be looking for early signs of trouble, from infections to allergies, psoriasis, and problems with my heart, blood, or liver. Then there's the cash cost, which is walloping and near impossible to calculate. After consulting a trio of insurance executives, my estimate, I'll pay $10,000 over the next year for Humira, with my insurers paying many more times that.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll also talk to my physicians about someday switching to one of the FDA-approved biosimilars that are like Humira but less expensive, and are forecast to become available in the US in 2023. Meanwhile, he's suffering now. My greatest fear for these days, however, is that Humira could suppress my immune system's ability to fight infection. That's a scary scenario in the middle of a pandemic, when the immune system's organs, cells, and proteins are critical to fighting off shape-shifting COVID invaders. I've been trying to understand how real that risk is. So has the American College of Rheumatology, which assembled a task force to gather all of the evidence and advise its members and their patients. According to the task force report, it's okay for people like me to start taking immune suppressing biologics like Humira if I don't have COVID-19, although it's a good idea to temporarily pause if I do. The task force conceded that not enough studies have been done to know for sure. Data linking specific rheumatologic treatments to COVID-19 or its complications are either lacking or, when available, conflicting, the report said. It added, surprisingly, that therapies like Humira could theoretically mitigate the severe impact of COVID. I wrote to the president of the American College of Rheumatology, Kenneth Sogg, a rheumatologist at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, who emailed back saying that patients with rheumatic disease may have slightly greater risk of acquiring COVID and having a less robust immune response to the virus. To some, adding up such risks and uncertainties might make voluntarily joining the ranks of 7 million immunocompromised Americans seem harebrained for sure. To me, the hope of relieving my arthritis means it'd be foolish not to give it a try. Now, when typing even a short essay like this makes my wrists feel like they're on fire. Whew.
Wow.
I really feel for Larry. I suffer from carpal tunnel, so I understand. I mean, it's not rheumatoid arthritis, but I do understand the debilitation of not being able to work because of the pain.
Right. Just having discomfort.
Yeah, you literally cannot use your hand. Like you
Wow.
can't use it at all.
Wow.
Especially when you need your hands for your work. I can't operate a mouse. I can't type. It's just painful. So I do understand on some level. I know it's not the fire that he's dealing with, but I do understand it. Anyway, with all due respect,
I'm sorry. Did you know that Humira was the #1 selling drug in the world?
I did not know that it was in
I didn't know that.
I knew that it was in the US. I didn't know that it was in the world.
So is it really pretty much for rheumatoid arthritis?
Rheumatoid arthritis and I think Crohn's disease.
Okay, so it's hitting two
really big, inflammatory.
That's because you would think to be the #1 drug in the world, that's an unbelievable amount of people that must be taking it for it to be #1.
Yeah.
Like more than cardiac drugs, that's unbelievable.
That's a good point.
Do you have
cardiac drugs are generic now? That's why.
So
they've been around so long, and they, all the anti-hypertension stuff, all the statins.
Oh, okay, and like Digitalis and all those things. Okay.
Yeah, they've been around for so long that they're either generic or off patent, so they don't really count.
Oh, and like metformin for diabetes, that's been around. Okay, I see.
Right. And insulin, there's about at least a dozen that are still on patent, and there's quite a few that are off. So, obviously there's a lot more of those consumed, but they don't count as prescription drugs.
I see. Oh.
Methotrexate has also been around a long time too.
Yeah.
Well, so with all due respect to his team of doctors, I would like to offer a third alternative. Not that my opinion matters to him, but I would consult a functional medicine doctor. I'm not sure they accept insurance plans, but compared to paying at least
$10,000 out,
$10,000 a year for medications, and that's not including the methotrexate copay that he's thinking of adding back to his treatment plan. Wow. And that's not including the copays, and all the lab copays and everything for all the doctor's visits and the time spent and the downtime. And who knows if this may wane in effectiveness over time, and it suppresses your immune system. I think it may be worth at least exploring.
How does that affect getting the vaccine if you're on an anti-inflammatory drug like that? Like,
the way it works is it suppresses the immune system, and
so you have that
because what happens when you have an inflammatory condition is your immune system is basically attacking parts of your body.
Right.
So, for example, you have Hashimoto's. Your immune system is attacking your thyroid.
Correct.
And damaging it. Right. And so that's what happens with the immune system, is that it's been exposed to whatever it was exposed to from the outset, and it became exposed to it for so long that anything that looks similar to it, it attacks.
Goes after.
So let's say you were allergic to, I don't know, grains. Let's say you were allergic to grains, and you are alert. You have an immune response to it, but not an immune response that would get you to your allergist or have you taking allergy medication. Right. It's low level, and it's just been going on for years, and you've been ignoring it because you didn't really recognize it as anything. Right. And then next thing you know, the protein from the grain that you're allergic to looks very similar in your immune system to your joints. Right. The joint cells, whatever's in that area. And it's like invader, and it starts, going after that, and it never stops. And that's why you have the inflammation and the pain and the deterioration, because your immune system just keeps going and going and going because it's just been active so long, it doesn't know any other way. So what the immune suppressant does is it stops the immune response, just stops it in its tracks. And which is good for reversing the damage.
It
But
reduces
what it
the
also
immune
does is it shuts your immune system down and makes you more susceptible to infections and things that your body would normally be able to fight off.
So does that also, since you need, when you get the vaccine, your body creates an immune response to the vaccine, right? And that sort of tempers and trains your immune system. Is that correct?
Pretty much. That's exactly what
It
happens.
sort of hones and like preps the immune
Right.
system.
So it
to
basically tests
recognize-
your immune system. So think of it like, you give one of those dogs a sweater to smell, and it's like, here, smell this. And now
Okay,
track
right.
this down and go after it, hunt this
that
down.
sucker, right. So
And
then
so that's what your immune system is now primed to do. But if it's suppressed, then it's not going to be doing that effectively.
it's not going to be as primed. So will the
Right.
vaccine be less effective possibly, but it's better than nothing because obviously they're giving it to patients with autoimmune or immune conditions because
Right.
they need something. So maybe is this also like the meds could possibly weaken sort of the effects of the vaccine in addition to lowering your immune system for everything, or we don't know?
The vaccine, you don't forget, the vaccine relies on your immune, like the vaccine
Right.
is basically a primer for your immune system. The
Right.
vaccine itself is not doing anything but sending the message to your immune system.
So
Hey, come
that's why
after me.
sometimes you need like extra vaccine for it to sort of beef
Yes,
the
but
immune
the work is done by your immune system.
Okay.
And
All
if
right.
your immune system is
Thank
not,
you. Now I get it.
if
Yes.
your immune system is not able to do that function because it's suppressed, it doesn't matter how many vaccines you take.
Right. I see.
That's sort of the problem with HIV. If your
Okay.
immune system is compromised, it can't do its job.
Okay. Yes. It doesn't
So-
see as clearly. It doesn't track as clearly.
Right, because it's basically being blocked and told
Right.
to
Okay.
simmer down and back off. And so
Okay.
it doesn't just selectively back off, it backs off of everything.
Well, that whole thing is really, you see how much of a devil's bargain that is. Yeah. Awful.
And that's why I'm suggesting, it's a thought. I don't know.
Putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there for anyone this may help. Functional medicine doctors are very good at reversing inflammatory conditions. I mean, I don't know anything about his degree of damage. I don't even know if his doctors have even talked to him about his diet. Like I found, links with the anti-inflammatory diet. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about his condition. I just think that the human body is amazing at healing itself if it's given what it needs. And I think he would have a much better shot with a functional medicine doctor. And I would just implore him to explore all options, not just put COVID aside, just for his general overall wellness.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break.
Yes, we will take a break. We will come right back. And we're back. So speaking of COVID, how long can you wear a KN95, N95, or KF94 mask?
That's really good to know. I just got an N95 finally. My brother picks them up, and I want to know exactly that. I only have 10. How do I make good use of them?
Well, if you typically wear cloth masks, you're probably used to washing them and reusing them. For surgical mask users, you're hopefully tossing them in the trash after each use. Respirators kind of fall in between the two options. You can reuse respirators without washing in between uses, as long as you're aware of your personal risk level and you take care of the mask between uses, says Cassandra M. Pierre, an infectious disease physician and medical director of public health programs at Boston Medical Center. There's no hard and fast rule as to how many times you can wear a respirator before throwing it away. Instead, it's more important to keep track of where you wear the face covering and for how long. For people who wear their mask for shorter periods of time or situations where they may remain physically distant from others throughout the day, Dr. Pierre says it's possible to use the same respirator for up to a week. That's about how long I use them. But for
so if you're like out and about and you're kind of outdoors and you're walking down the sidewalk or you're just passing through something, but you're not like in close quarters.
Right. So about a week you got about a week. But for people in high risk settings like healthcare facilities, it's best to toss the mask after a day.
Okay.
Of course, each time you use a respirator, if you're using it more than once, you should make sure it's still in good condition. We recommend every time you use a respirator, you're making sure there are no tears, gaps, or evidence of soiling on the surface. All of these things can impair the integrity and filtration ability of the mask. There are some pretty key ways to tell if your respirator has lost its integrity. First and foremost, if the mask is loosened on your face and no longer has a tight seal, it should be replaced, says Jade Flynn, MSN, a nurse educator for the biocontainment unit at Johns Hopkins Medicine. If the mask is visibly dirty on the inside from makeup, body oil, sweat, or other forms of moisture, you should also toss it. This is really good advice, and no one is really giving this advice to people. Everyone wants people to.
I was just wondering where I was having this discussion yesterday. When, how is it? What am I supposed to do with these masks? Because it's the first time I finally got a hold of N95 masks. I've been using surgical masks before. I couldn't. Okay. I don't know. I couldn't get them. So my brother was able to get a bunch, and I can't believe how much more comfortable they are because I was doubling up on my surgical masks.
Oh, okay.
And it's a great fit, and I feel like it's easier to breathe through them, quite frankly, than a doubled up surgical mask for sure. And but yeah, now we know what we do, what we should be doing. We're supposed to.
Yeah. I used to wear a cloth mask with the filter inside of it. But then when
I found those hard to breathe through, the cloth mask with the filter.
Well, I took the shishi approach. I was wearing a silk mask for my complexion.
There we go.
Raggedy mask.
No raggedy mask for you.
Yes, for you, but not for me. My silk masks withstood the test of time. And I would just change the filter every couple of days. But after Omicron, I switched full time to the KN95, which is horrible for your complexion. But at a time like this, it's not a priority.
There are worse things for your complexion.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share this because there's never any instruction, they give you the mask and then it's like, good luck.
So now we take them and take your individual mask and pop them in a brown bag. Is that it? Like a paper bag? We have brown bags.
Who does that?
Not me. I keep them in the car. I mean, that's the only time I use them, when I go outside in the car. But quite honestly, the way I recycle is I tend to lose them after about a week, meaning what I did with them. So they naturally recycle that way.
That's not good.
I never really use it for more than 20 minutes. The supermarket.
It's a natural
recycle. It's like an hour.
Here it is. Let me dust this off.
Yeah. Yeah, and after I would say about a week, I misplace them somewhere or.
But then after a week, you throw it out, right?
Yeah, I'll bring it inside accidentally, or I'll put it in some coat pocket or do something dumb with it. And then when I find it, I just chuck it.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
All right.
Also, I interviewed Lance Brown, the CEO of Rhino Medical Supplies, and I completely forgot to ask him this. I was just so caught up in his demonstration of the different grades and types of masks on the market. It was really informative, but I just completely forgot to ask him. Anyway, that interview is going to be appearing on urbanhealthtoday.com. Sorry?
That sounds interesting. Also,
yeah, it's going to be on urbanhealthtoday.com next week. So
where do you guys get your masks? Are there stores in the city that have masks?
I buy them in bulk. I just buy them. I buy 50 at a time, 30. I buy the kid masks and I buy the grown-up masks.
Okay.
But a lot of the CVS's had them. It depends. Yeah, like in anything lately, they have them and then they don't have them.
That's the problem. The problem when
that's what I was having trouble. Every time I go somewhere, they'd be gone. So that's why I couldn't believe.
Right. So I just order them online.
Okay.
And
they're the real deal. You're ordering them from like a reputable, they're not knockoffs what you're getting.
Well, I don't know that they're knockoffs or not. One of the things Lance talked about was he talked about making sure that you buy USA because that you're meeting the NIOSH standards. Don't ask me what NIOSH means. He explained it, but I forgot what it means.
Okay.
But a mask that's made in America, he was saying, meets the NIOSH standards.
That's what we want to know. That's what I want to know. Very
Right.
good.
When
Okay.
you're getting them from like China and other places like that,
So you look
you're
for it
not
to
really
say made in
sure.
USA on your thing as the store. So that's where
Right.
you're ordering from. Okay.
Yeah. You know you're getting gold standard if it's made in the USA.
All right.
Was the take home. Yeah.
Because sometimes, like there was a whole bunch of masks I was getting from China that weren't, just like the surgical masks. And when I got them, I go, these came from China, and they were not like the ones that we had when I worked in the hospital. I was like, this is really thin and skimpy. So yeah, you don't necessarily. So yeah, that's good. Good advice. So we know that the USA ones have a certain standard. And now I feel a little better about ordering them online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good article. Yeah. So first vaccine for children under 5 may be available by the end of February.
Exciting.
Maybe. Pfizer and its partner BioNTech, the manufacturers of the vaccine, are expected to submit to the FDA as early as next week a request for emergency use authorization for the vaccine for children 6 months to 5 years old, which would make it the first vaccine available for that age group. Older children can already, of course, receive the shot. The FDA urged the companies to submit the application so that regulators could begin reviewing the 2-shot data, according to the knowledgeable individuals who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. The companies in the last few months have been testing a 3rd dose following disappointing results from the 2-shot regimen, showing that while the vaccine is safe, 2 doses did not provide a strong enough immune response in all age groups. But data on a 3rd shot will not be available until at least late March. Once that information is submitted, regulators are expected to authorize a 3rd dose of the pediatric vaccine. We know that 2 doses isn't enough, and we get that, said one of the people familiar with the situation. The idea is, let's go ahead and start the review of 2 doses. If the data holds up in the submission, you could start kids on their primary baseline months earlier than if you don't do anything until the 3rd dose data comes in.
All right.
I'm going to hang back on this one. I fully support the 5 to 11 vaccine, but there seems to be a bit of a struggle with the smaller children trial result.
It's also a very big size difference, just flat out size.
Yeah. Well, they're using a much smaller dose, and I'm wondering, is the dose too small, and are they seeing negative effects with a bigger dosage that would probably be more effective? That's what gives me pause for thought.
Yeah,
there's just not enough information.
Kids for that age group is very difficult. Most parents are just like very reluctant to let you experiment on a
for sure,
less than 5-year-old. Even a 5 to 11, I would say it's a little iffy. But
the 5 to 11 results, they were able to demonstrate that it had a robust response. I mean, they had no problems. The fact that they're having problems with this age group gives me pause for thought.
Well,
there's
personally, they haven't really gotten enough of the kids. Secondly, I think one of the problems is that when you're from a 6-month-old to a 5,
yeah, that's a huge size difference right there.
It's a huge size difference and a huge maturity difference. Your immune system is still, becoming
not quite formed. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
You're still relying on mommy's immunity from the womb at that point. Yeah.
You're quadrupling in size at least. Sometimes, if you're born at 6 pounds, you're going to wind up being maybe 40, 50 pounds. You're 6 times bigger. It's just a lot of changes.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah. So
they really should break this down into different cohorts at this stage.
I just find 6 months to 5 years. Yeah, way too broad.
Yes. And then you're talking about sizes, and not all kids develop at the same.
Right.
It's almost like in anything with kids that age. Like one kid will be able to walk when they're 7 months old, and another kid will be able to walk when they're 40 months old.
Right.
And that's perfectly all right, except that it's a huge difference. And I think we're seeing those huge differences with the vaccine. So the test data is all over the place. So it's very hard for them to be able to do it with the small sizes that we have. So more data is coming. I'm hopeful that it's just a matter of getting more data. and figuring out
Yeah,
what the
I want to
right
see more.
dosaging
I
is.
want to see more data before I can get behind this.
Right, and the dosaging might have to be by weight, not by age.
Yeah.
I don't know. They have to figure this one out.
Do you think they're doing that now, or?
I think they're doing all sorts of stuff, and we will know, but it may take 3 years for us to know. So, you know, stay posted.
Or maybe instead of doing a 6 month to 5, maybe they should do a 2 to 4.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. But even in the 2 to 4, there's such a variety in size and weight and maturity and immune response. And it's just really hard to say.
Even for adults, we don't know what happens after the 3rd. You know, there's still some differential data as to, okay, so I took my Pfizer or my Moderna or my whatever,
J&J.
or J&J, I've been boosted. So when is the next time that I have to take the next dose?
Right.
And we really haven't gotten there yet. They're starting to do a lot of research. They think they know. I think it varies by vaccine. I think with the Pfizers, they say after 6 months. With the Moderna, they say after 12 for the 4th dose. But, you know, it's one of those, stay tuned, folks.
By the way, have you read that some clinics, I just read this, that some clinics are advising pregnant women to avoid the vaccine? Like, these women will come in for their vaccine appointment, and then a nurse or somebody will screen them for pregnancy and then tell them, no, we don't advise you to have the vaccine. And they're like,
I didn't hear that at all. Wow.
Let me tell you, completely unsafe, because these mothers pass on their immunity to their babies, for heaven's sakes. You know, I was blown away. I'll provide a link for that bit of shocking news on Urban Health Weekly. I saw it in passing and I was like, no way.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's take a break and we will be right back.
Okay.
And we're back. Now, can you guys join me in saluting the Air Force General who's talking openly about mental health care?
Yes, definitely.
I just want to give this man props. The 4-star general in charge of Air Mobility Command has announced that he has an upcoming mental health appointment to let service members know that seeking care is a sign of strength, not weakness. Air Force General Mike Minahan recently shared on social media the date and time of his appointment, along with the words, "Warrior heart, no stigma." I'm only holding myself accountable to the same standards I expect from the amazing airmen and families that surround me. Mental health is simply health. There can be no stigma in my headquarters, command, or family. Warrior heart is leadership. Warrior heart is fine-tuning mind, body, and craft to ensure individual and team readiness. With his tweet, Minahan is taking aim at a pervasive belief within the military that service members are at fault for their mental health issues, or that seeking help rather than toughing it out is a sign of weakness. The stigma surrounding mental health in the military is a longstanding issue. The Army is currently reviewing the cases of thousands of soldiers who were given other than honorable discharges for misconduct that was later attributed to service-related mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I applaud this man for leading from in front and setting a great example for those servicemen and women who think they have to suck it up, buttercup. And I encourage all service providers to seek out mental health care, whether you serve in the military or on the streets or in your city or your local hospital or clinic. Yes, I'm talking to you doctors who are too afraid that this will affect your malpractice insurance or your licensing. We really need to change the conversation and destigmatize mental health. And if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? Like, this is the time to do it. What do you guys think?
Well, absolutely. We need to destigmatize this. Absolutely. Help needs to be, you need to find help and you shouldn't have to be ashamed. You shouldn't have to hide it. How is it for employers? How do they handle that? Do people have to worry about losing their job if they go?
Well, for example, I don't know if people have to necessarily worry about losing their job. I know that doctors, for example, I covered this maybe a year ago. that
Mhm.
doctors worry about getting mental health because they're afraid it's going to affect their malpractice insurance and that it's going to affect their licensure
Okay.
because they're afraid they might be
They
seen.
might get flagged.
Right, exactly. Maybe their malpractice goes up or they get dropped or something like that. These are things that they worry about. So they just tend to not seek out the care that they need. And that's why you have such high levels of burnout in the medical profession.
Well, if we look at mental health in the military, even 50, 60 years ago, we were exploring in film a nutty general in Dr. Strangelove with
Oh my God, that movie. Yes.
right with Kubrick, where
So
the
great.
general completely loses it and launches a nuclear attack on the Soviets. I'm laughing because it's kind of a weird movie, but it's not a funny topic.
That's helpful.
It could have happened. It could have happened. I mean, it was at that, especially in the 60s when there weren't the safeguards that we have now. You could just have somebody at a high command thing, and all of a sudden we're in a war, World War III. It's life changing not only for us but for 1 billion people. So the military having their mental health check is super important. Think of a submarine going rogue. Think of any of those things happening.
But is that a check where they don't try to help you? Is that, I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. My question was going to be, so do you think that informed attitudes today about mental health?
I think it's been evolving. And it's important that not only for the military, but for the non-military, the people take the lead and see what's going on. I mean, in countries like France, where I've had coworkers, the attitudes towards mental health are a lot different than towards stress. And you have in private industry, you have term limits for jobs because they feel that they're way too stressful. You have moratoriums, and you can go on mental leave if you feel that your job is too stressful. And it's not unusual. I know for a fact that I'm not going to say what companies, but a person that was a CEO of a company that we all know in France felt that the job was too stressful for them, and later on took a job in a mailroom somewhere else just so that they'd have a job and something to do. They never worked again in that stressful type of environment.
But that's interesting because they're using the term stress. They're not using the term like mental illness. They're saying, oh, it was pressure and stress. They allow that, but they're not necessarily, if you're having like depression or you're hearing voices, like not that. So
the point is that you manage it before you get to that level. That if you feel like if you feel like you're about to lose it, or if you feel the first signs of it, and a lot of time, see what happens is some of this becomes a bit self-diagnosed.
Yes.
And mental health is, you don't test positive for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you do with COVID, where it's a binary type thing. With mental health, you give your symptoms to your, healthcare provider, and based on your self-reported symptoms, they make a diagnosis. So you could say, "Hey, I'm stressed," and people are going to believe you because why should you lie? That say you're stressed. And in the military, with all those decisions and all the people under your command, and one mistake and off the bombs go, I can see where that can weigh on you.
But with the time we're dealing with right now, where everybody is so stressed, and the message out there is get help and get help now, and don't be afraid to get help, and all this, you can do it online and telehealth, and you can do it through instant message and all this other stuff. Why is the same grace not extended to people in the service industries? And I'm not talking about the service industry like hospitality. I'm talking about in the service industry like military, like police officers, like doctors and nurses. They're super stressed right now.
Yeah, and I think you see it in the suicide rates for police officers.
Yes.
They're extremely high. I think you see the signs of it, or the number of officers that just
have healthcare providers just leaving the profession altogether. They're like, screw this, I'm out.
the number of officers that sometimes just snap and kill somebody. I mean, is this mental health, or where,
I mean, we've long known about this. The term going postal obviously came
Right.
from that. And,
right from the
hey, look,
postal service.
stress is a relative thing, and think of it as the caveman days. A caveman would wake up, there was no food in the fridge, there was no fridge, nothing, and they weren't stressed, or I don't
No, they were stressed, but stress, okay, so stress at that time meant something different. Stress at that time meant I'm running for my life. I've got the adrenaline is going to my muscles, and
lion is chasing me.
Right, or some creature that's going to disembowel me is chasing me, and I've got to run, or I've got to climb this tree, or I've got to shimmy down this hole and hide. Now we still have the same reaction, but we don't have I've got to run.
We do have some of this.
So it's a lot more fight than flight.
I wish I would have,
and that's why you have people
data
snapping.
But here's the thing. I've read a bit about the Aborigines in Australia, some of the people in the Amazon.
Well, why didn't you bring it? You knew we were talking about this.
I didn't think we were going to get to this particular segue of stress, where we would talk about primitive people. But when we look at the Aborigines that we found, or the people from the Amazon basin and all that, who basically are Stone Age in terms of technology, their stress levels are very, very low.
Well, because they don't have the modern day stress. They don't have anything chasing them, because they've got natural barriers and natural protections that we didn't have at the time.
If you don't know you're missing it, it's like, well. Hey, look, we could go into a completely different thing about Miss USA that
that's just
which was very sad. And now it's starting to come out that one of her biggest stresses was her Instagram account. And somebody from my generation, I'm there like, are you kidding me? But
that's why Facebook was on. That's why Facebook was on Capitol Hill, and that woman outed them because of the fact that Instagram was having all these negative effects on young girls, and they felt it made them suicidal. Yeah, this is I didn't expect us to go this way, but this is great. Let's go with this. But at the same time, they felt powerless to just simply remove it from their remove the app from their account and just let the account go.
Right.
But it was very harmful. They had that data.
That's that between a rock and a hard place. That to me is the most stressful thing of all, where things are coming down upon you and you feel unempowered or unable to do anything about it. So you just have to take it. That part is, I think, one of the bigger stressors. She felt powerless to do anything about it. Nothing could be done. It just kept raining on her. Right. Is that what you find the most stressful also? That it's just it's like out there in the ether. There's nothing,
and like, hey, look.
I think she felt that there was nothing that she could do. But that's what the data showed, was that these young girls, felt this pressure, and they felt it made them feel bad about themselves, and it made them suicidal. But they felt that they were powerless to do anything about it. Like, I listened to that, and my solution as a grown woman is, I'm just gonna get rid of the app. I'm not gonna deal with this crap. But I'm not a young girl. I'm not a young impressionable girl in that right. And when I was coming up, we didn't have social media.
Right.
So to me, it sounds simple, but I'm not of that age group where you can't imagine your life without it.
Yeah. So I think
that's terrible that happened to her, though. I didn't know that's what it was.
Well, it's one of this. Well, they're backing into why would this person who seemingly had so much going for them, and they're finding now that was one of the stresses. They don't really know. But and we'll probably never know for sure. But at the end of the day, we all take it for granted, and people say, "Oh, you're a 4-star general. You're in control, and all this, or you're a tennis player. Why, you just won the U.S. Open. Why are you stressed?" Right. It's until you're in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult to figure out what is going on around them.
Right.
and what they're doing, and why they do certain things.
But this is why it's so important for us to have a broader discussion about mental health.
Mhm.
Look, there are threads of people who, what do they call it? The great resignation, where people are quitting their jobs, and then they're talking about on social media how they quit their jobs and showing the little signs and what they did, et cetera, et cetera. Why aren't we doing the same thing with mental health? Like, I just had a mental health check. And I spoke to, the counselor, and I feel great. And I wish I had done it sooner. And what about you? Are you looking into your mental, like, why don't we have that same attitude towards mental health? We share everything else, but we don't talk about mental health. And we should absolutely be talking about mental health.
And
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And what I'm taking my hat off to him is, like, he could have kept it all in.
He could have. That's right. He could have stayed silent and been in his personal business.
But here we go.
But he took the new school approach. That's right.
Right. 4-star general.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut across you like that. I was just agreeing fervently with what you were saying.
Absolutely. I mean, it's in every stage in life that you see it. Like even going into the NFL, which is one of my favorite subjects.
Don't get him started with all the juice churning that's on the NFL.
You just got a coach that that felt that he was wrong, and went out and said that there was
what's his name? Robert Flores.
Yeah,
Brian Flores.
Right, because there was another Brian that he got confused. That somebody got confused with. But at the end of the day, they didn't like how things were going. Things were piling up on them. Reputations being ruined, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they just lashed out. So
you think a lawsuit is lashing out?
I think they took the empowerment back. That they felt that, again, I'm trying to put myself in that person's place, that things were happening around them. And they decide they can do one of two things: keep it quiet and get a great job down the road, because one is almost guaranteed for you. There were other positions almost guaranteed for that person, for Brian. Or turn around and say, hey, some of this stuff is just not right. I'm going to do something about it, and it may hurt my chances later on down the road, but I'm going to empower myself and do what I need to do. With him, he could have just shut up, played the system, played the thing, and probably he would have been the head coach of either the Texans or the Saints.
I don't know that the system was designed with his success in mind. So I applaud him for.
But
and again, we're going completely off on a tangent here.
Off tag.
But it still comes back to mental health. So
mental health. So there's an
still
example.
Tracks.
To me, that's an example of somebody saying that I can't live with all these pressures, so I'm going to let a little bit of it out, and I'm going to empower myself. And sometimes when you empower yourself, that is a cathartic thing. Here with the general, he went and got themselves treated, person in power again, and that's, to me, that's the same thing. You're in power. You're a person everybody knows. Blah blah blah. But you have to take things sometimes into your own hands.
I don't know if we want to be careful of putting that message out there. Some people think empowering themselves is like, what's that song, Pumped Up Kicks? That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
you know that song, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't want to put any ideas out there, but I think you smell what I'm stepping in when I say that. So we gotta be careful when we talk about empowering.
Don't take a hammer. Yeah, don't punch your boss in the face, folks. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, some people feel empowered in slightly unacceptable ways. On that note, we will take another break and we shall be right back. We're back. Is 10,000 steps a day the magic number for your health? Is it? I don't know. As Hippocrates once said, walking is man's best medicine. Or as we would now say, sitting is the new smoking. Can I tell you, I think about that all the time. And
I do too. While I'm sitting, I always think about that.
I get up, like I try to get up every half hour and I do like a little Tai Chi and stretch and all of this stuff because I'm just afraid now. Like I sit there and I start thinking, sitting is the new smoking. Sitting is the new smoking. I don't want to kill myself. Irrespective of which delightfully moralistic statement du jour you prefer, the bottom line is this: we need to move more. This fact is reiterated more than ever before, thanks to the endless COVID waves and lockdowns that we have lived through the last couple of years. So basically, the article finds that 10,000 steps is a lofty goal and not necessary to promote better health. According to a study published in Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism, patients with diabetes and hypertension were assigned two different groups. One group contained people who were told to walk 3,000 steps per day, and the other were told 30 to 60 minutes. Although the step counters still failed to achieve their 3,000 step daily goal, they still increased their daily movement by 20% more than the 30 to 60 minute group. The increase was enough to see a 40% reduction in their diseases. So this just shows, Lou, you use a pedometer.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah,
now,
do you have one of those watches that tells you how many you have?
Oh, he's got all those gadgets.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I left my watch on the counter because it was charging. So I never put it on until before the show. So since the show started, I've done 78 steps when I went to get a soda.
I have literally
But
seen
it's
him get
nothing.
worked up and his watch will warn him, your blood pressure is up, calm down.
Oh, that's so funny.
But this just shows that it doesn't matter where you start, so long as you do something, right? Also, you have to remember that not everyone can walk safely around their neighborhood.
Correct.
If you live like in a high crime area, for example, it may not be a good idea to go walking for like an hour and a half. It's not safe. That's not to say that we don't also need fresh air. I'm just saying that, this whole goal of like 10,000 steps, this may not really be achievable for everybody. And I think you can achieve the same results with like dancing around your house or jumping rope.
Sure, but if you have, like, I have one of those, like the cheap version, a cheap watch with like, like cheap smartwatch. It keeps the steps going. And just, walking around back and forth to the kitchen, doing a little pacing, going up and down the stairs, that it can add up.
How many steps would you average a day doing that?
Just within my little apartment with like a little set of stairs, I can do like, just walking around in the apartment, I can easily do like 8,000 steps.
Oh, that's see that?
Amazing.
That's incredible.
That's also like, I mean, if I sit down and watch a movie or I just lie down and then I'm not going to get that many steps.
Oh, right. Obviously.
Like 5,000. But if I'm like going down to the kitchen and doing
5,000 is still great. And that's just doing housework. So it can be done. So you don't have to do this whole 10,000 step thing.
You don't have to do this whole.
But if I did jumping jacks or something like downstairs, like that works too. That will take up. That will get counted.
Absolutely. So I'm just saying that you don't have to do this whole 10,000 steps. It's not the magic number.
It's the movement, then. It's the activity.
Right.
It's a goal. You know what? It's an easy to.
I like that it does make you a little bit accountable. That's why I like that thing, because I go, have I been sitting? Also, my thing, if I'm lying down too much, it like beeps at you and says, please take activity. Like,
I love it. That's great.
My phone does the same.
It does the same.
It's time to get up now.
Stop sitting on your butt. Yeah.
Do you feel ashamed when you see that?
Yeah. Sometimes I just go, oh, shut up. Like sometimes yeah. Like I'll be, sometimes it's at night because I set my thing to do 20,000 steps.
Okay.
Because I don't believe.
Look at you, 20,000.
I never do it because I don't believe 10,000 is enough.
What, you don't believe 10,000 is enough? You think 20,000 is enough?
Because I have to lose weight. So in my mind, I didn't feel that 10,000.
I see. You want it to be on the other side. So you want it to like burn.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much, unless I go jogging, which I'm not doing because there's snow and ice on the ground, and I'm not currently going to the gym per se.
Yeah.
So but if I do swim and there's like, there's not like a wave of Omicron or whatever, like I might go through, like I might be at the pool or something. That helps a lot. But I have that little watch. It makes a big difference. It's just like a $30 watch. I've been wearing
Wow.
it and I like it.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but before the watch, I would always, like when I would go to a football game, I always try to find the spot as close as possible. What I did this year is I would find the spot as far away as possible because I knew that if I walked the entire parking lot and got to my seats and walked all the way back, I would average 13,000 steps a day.
What? Oh, because those stadiums have those huge parking lots because of that?
Exactly. So I started doing that.
Wow.
Because and it's not that you're doing the 10,000 per se. I think you start goal setting yourself to be a little bit more active and almost shaming yourself when you don't.
So let me ask you then, Lou. So then do you feel ashamed when your monitor tells you to get up and do something?
Not really. Do it. I mean, you'll see me like working at like that. I mean, and I don't think this is enough. What I'll do is I'll actually stand up so it shuts up, and just.
Oh my God, gaming the system. That's hilarious.
But no, I do think that it does promote circulation, better circulation. Standing behind.
I agree.
Rather than doing it.
Right.
I basically just have to change glasses or actually take them off in my case, because I can see the screen if I'm standing up. If I'm sitting, I'm a little nearsighted or farsighted or whatever you call it. And I can't really see the screen that well, so I wear glasses. I stand up, I take off my glasses, and I keep working.
It does make it. Yeah, you now took activity.
Yeah.
Well, I myself have not availed myself to the technology of health monitoring. I monitor my own health. I know that if I sit for long periods of time, that I just feel crampy and achy.
Feel lousy, yeah.
Yeah, and so I have to get up and I've got to stretch and I've got to walk around, or else I get stiff. So that's my barometer. I don't like the idea of like a wearable. I think it's very handy and I think it has its people. But for me, I don't like to be monitored like that.
But
it gets very invasive too, though.
Your phone does do it.
I never set it up.
If you set up the app,
I never set it up.
Your phone will do it. Your phone will even tell you when you're sleeping. The watch also monitors you sleep.
It monitors your monthly cycle. That's so invasive. I don't need some.
I don't know. My watch is super low tech. It's just like I never hooked it up to anything, so it's like the $30 one.
It's literally like a pedometer on your wrist that tells the time.
Correct. That happens to be digital as opposed.
Mine will tell me how much REM I got when I got up.
Oh, yours is high tech. Yes.
Oh my God. And you can actually using your phone then type in what you ate, and I'll tell you were you positive.
Oh yeah, I never update any of that stuff. I've never
seen laps for me, which was good because I would always forget how many laps I'd done as I was swimming.
That is really easy to forget how many laps you've done when you swim. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
that's very invasive, but it's very good for people who and it helps keep you accountable, I think.
Yes.
Because every drop counts.
Yep, every step counts. So
that's right.
Next week, let's all do this show standing up.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that. I get exercise. I'm not. I'm good, but I think it's really game changing if you have one of those kinds of apps that monitors you, because it keeps you honest and it makes you feel like you're making some progress.
You don't kid yourself.
No, exactly. You don't say, well, my trip to the bathroom was 50 steps.
It wasn't. Refrigerator.
It was steps.
You take the long route.
Yeah, around the counter twice or something like that, right? Nobody does that. But you should. That's not a bad idea. So remember, people, you only have one life and one body. Do your best to make it count so your years are full of life and full of health. Small steps each day, and you'll see a difference. I'm sure of it. All right, that's all the time we have today, guys. You guys are awesome as always.
All right, that was fun.
Yeah, same here.
All right, I'm walking, so I don't have time.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and do your walking thing. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Urban Health Weekly today. I hope you'll join me and my friends next week so you can stay informed and inspired to take control of your health. See you next time.